Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
We're going to talk about a little this and a little that, and likely there's not going to be any debate coverage at all. So if that's what you're in for, by all means, you're free to stay watching or listening. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you want to tune out and go back to your regularly scheduled hissy fits. But I want to remind you that there are many ways to listen. So if you continue to watch the show or listen, I want to remind you that there are many ways. So set this channel as a favorite, whatever you have to do, so you don't get left behind. And if for some strange, crazy reason you do miss the show, you can catch the replay. So just sit tight. There is absolutely no need to panic because, hey, I've got you. And in the case you aren't already following on social media, you can find me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice, or you can find me on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Snapchats, wherever. Just search for the Stafford Voice, and we'll be there. In the case you want to stay a little more personal and you're just not the social media kind of guy or gal, feel free to email me any of your questions, comments, or concerns to thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. I personally answer each and every single tweet, Facebook message, Instagram, email, you name it. I personally answer it. I don't have some big elaborate group of people that are doing it for me. I do this for you, nobody else. You guys are like family. You're more than just friends. So let's get things started. And if you missed a little bit of what we had talked about before starting the show tonight, we're changing things up just a little bit. So I'm going to reach behind me and grab the flag. I got to make sure I get the red, white, and the blue. Not enough people understand what the colors of this flag mean, and maybe we'll dive into it a little later. On a different show. Let me start this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, September 20th, 1814, a guy by the name of Francis Scott Key wrote these words. Now, I'm not sticking to only one verse. I'm going to read to you all 4 verses of this poem. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? On the shore dimly seen through the mists of the deep, where the foe's haughty host in dread silent reposes, what is that which the breeze o'er the towering steep, as it fitfully blows, now conceals, now discloses. Now it catches the gleam of the morning's first beam. In full glory reflected, now shines on the stream. 'Tis the star-spangled banner, oh, long may it wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country, should leave us no more? Their blood has wiped out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Oh, thus be it ever, when free men shall stand between their loved homes and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace. May the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, for our cause it is just, and this be our motto: in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner forever shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. With that, here's the bottom line. We live in the greatest nation that history has ever seen and bore witness of. Have we as a nation made mistakes? Yes, but that doesn't mean that as a whole we're all wrong, corrupt, and oppressed. The fact of the matter is that no other country affords its citizens the same opportunities as does America. We truly are the land of the free and the home of the brave. Other countries, nations, and groups of people who our very government refuses to name and utter the very words that they are at war with us are nothing short of cowards. They hide behind their women and children, while our armed services, with the select few who refuse to stand during the national anthem, rush to stand in front of, take a bullet, or improvised explosive device for ours and theirs, men, women, and children, all in the name of love. Whether you want to admit it or not, we are a God-fearing nation founded on Judeo-Christian morals and values. The thoughts and precepts which we continue to defend each and every day have not and will not change. We are not a nation who looks at color. We're not a nation who says who can and cannot enjoy the self-evident and unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which are endowed by the Creator since the beginnings of time. We are a nation who stands in defense of freedom and liberty. We cower to no one, and we never will. There will always be a few willing to stand in defense of who and what we are as America. We've tasted the sweet taste of freedom and will never let it slip from our grasp. At the end of our rope is tied a knot that will not allow us to slip into the depths of hell. My only question to you is this: where are you on that rope? Are you holding on for dear life? Or are you the knot? And that is the bottom line. Now we're going to take a short break, and then we'll kind of get back to how things are normally here on the show. Let me catch you up on a couple of things. We've got 2 weeks of stuff, of personal stuff to catch up on, I think. So, you know, let's take a short break, and when we come back, let's play a little bit of catch up, shall we? We'll be right back.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Nothing will protect you quite like your sidearm, so why not give it the protection it deserves? Something as strong as the Second Amendment and stands the test of time, and better yet, made in the USA. A Rebel Road Tactical Custom Kydex holster is that and more. Call now and place your order with Rebel Road Tactical at 682-217-4579. Again, 682-217-4579, or online at rebelroadtactical.com.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
And we are back. I am your host, Daniel Stafford, and yes, you are tuned into the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. I realize that first segment was a little awkward, maybe, for some of you. Me, not so much. I wanted to get that off my chest. I wanted to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I really wanted to read the words of the Star-Spangled Banner. I think it's very important, and I think too many people have forgotten what it really says. I think a lot of the people who are out there protesting have absolutely no idea what that poem and what that song means and what it stands for, let alone what the flag is and what the colors of the flag even stand for. So, with that, let's shift gears, if you will, and kind of get back to how things are normally here on the show. So, yeah, 2 weeks ago, we were supposed to be doing a show. Well, not 2 weeks ago, was it? It was just last week. Wow, it seems like it's been forever. Sorry, guys. But last week, it's been 2 weeks since I got to talk to you. So, last week, all day Monday, I was having a great day. I really was. And then, late afternoon, early evening, I started to feel, I'm not going to call it anxiety, but I was starting to feel a little bit of depression coming on. I've battled with that for a little while. It actually caused me to take a short hiatus from actually doing the show earlier this year. But I was able to get things a little more under control. And Monday, it was coming on. So I had to do what I had to do, and that was call the show. Because if I didn't try and get things under control in my head, it was going to get the best of me. And that was the last thing that I wanted to do. I did not want it to take control. I do not enjoy it at all, not one bit. It's a very unhealthy and unnerving feeling to go through that. And for the many of you out there that checked in on me and asked how things were going, and subsequently the days after, thank you for checking on me, praying for me. I really appreciate it. And it really wasn't until Wednesday did I feel like everything was 100%. Tuesday, don't get me wrong, had a great date night with the wife. We went out to a Mediterranean restaurant that we really like, and it fits our diet, and I'll catch you up on that. But so we had date night, and we've been doing these little study guide things. we went to our local Christian bookstore, and we've been doing these little study guides, and we started a new one. So this study guide happens to be taking us on a mission, if you will, to really try and understand in a much deeper sense who Christ is and what he did for us. So without getting too churchy with you, that was our date night. We do some scripture study together, and it's not as glorious and glamorous as you may think, but we have a blast doing it. We've learned a lot about each other and a lot about ourselves. Speaking of ourselves, again, back on the diet thing. I started the diet about 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago. My wife kind of jumped on board only because she's doing all the cooking for me. And I greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate all of her support. And I know that she doesn't really enjoy having to come up with new things for dinner. But for instance, tonight we had a great dinner. Cut up some chicken breasts, some boneless chicken breasts, threw it in a pan, cooked it up. But the highlight of the dinner was these little zucchini boat things. So you hollow out the zucchini and you make a little boat out of it, and then you sprinkle cheese and bacon, the nectar of the meat gods, by the way. You put bacon. She didn't put enough bacon. They were still good. You put bacon on it, and then you eat it. Yeah, it's kind of like a potato skin. If you know what potato skins are, you hollow out a potato and you slice up the potato skins. But potatoes are not on our diet. Potatoes aren't on the diet, but zucchini is. And by the way, if you have not had these zucchini noodles, I guess they call them zoodles. It's basically they take the zucchini and they put it in some fancy little machine, and it spiral cuts the whole thing, and they look like noodles. Honestly, they look like noodles. They don't taste like noodles. They don't taste like pasta. I like the taste of pasta. I like Italian food. Anyway, but it's still good. It's incredible. I mean, it completely changed our whole attitude towards this diet. We had spaghetti the other night, which is probably one of my favorite foods. Spaghetti. I mean, I could eat it 2 or 3 meals a day. Honestly, I like spaghetti that much. But we did the zoodles, the zucchini noodles. Wow, it was incredible. We had to cut out using bell peppers. We were using bell peppers and basically just stuffing a bell pepper. Obviously, no rice, no potatoes, no grains, just meats and vegetables and fruits where we can. But I think the peppers were causing some bubble guts issues. And I think you know what, I don't need to really, do I really need to go into what bubble guts is? No. I really don't. It's nasty. But it's a fact of life. Everybody gets bubble guts. And the bell peppers were starting to cause some stomach issues. So I'm glad that we jumped on the zoodles bandwagon. Oh, I was so glad that we did. Anyway, so where are we at on the diet? Okay, sorry, my mind is going bonkers. So the diet, we're doing really good. We've lost somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds. I've lost somewhere between 8 to 10, so I'll let you do the math. You don't have to worry about Common Core math. It's pretty easy. But speaking for myself, I'm feeling really, really good. I've been getting into the gym a lot more, which is fantastic because I took a hiatus from that, which I hated. I put too much time and effort into some other things instead of focusing on myself and worrying about that stuff second. And that's what I really need to do. I really got to focus on myself more. Focus on my physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health. And I think everything else past that goes into, will fall into place. And for the most part, it has. So, yeah. What else do we have to catch up on? Oh yeah, the vlog. If you guys haven't picked up on what we've been doing over on the YouTubes, so basically once a week, which turns out to be over the weekend, we vlog. We take our camera with us, and you guys go out and spend the day with us. We take you along. We go on what we consider an adventure. And over the weekend, our adventure was we went and watched a World War II air show. It was fantastic. It's awesome to be able to get out and see some of these historic aircrafts. These, like the P-51 Mustang, the B-25 bombers. Absolutely incredible aircraft, and it was so much fun watching them fly around. They did a simulated dogfight for us. Just an incredible time, and if you're watching on the YouTubes, you can tell, look, it instantly turns back to red. We got really sunburned. We got too excited about getting out of the house that we packed our bag with our camera, the microphones, the cameras, tripods. We had everything needed, and we were going to go get some really, really good... What's my favorite World War II plane? I got to go with the Mustang. It's just an absolutely beautiful aircraft. That comes from a question in the chat room. Army John is asking what was my favorite World War II plane. He said his is the Corsair, the F4U Corsair. Mine would have to be the P-51 Mustang. Just an absolutely beautiful aircraft. Anyway, don't get me off topic because I'm going to have to hunt you down. I will come to the West Coast and I will find you. I have a special set of skills and I will find you and I will shake your hand and buy you lunch or dinner. I'm not going to kill you because you're on my side. Anyway, actually, you know what? We could probably go and do some military drills together. That's what we could do. That would be blast. We could vlog that. Anyway, so the one thing we forgot to pack was sunscreen. Now, mind you, we were there for what, 3.5 to 4 hours? Yeah, 3.5 to 4 hours. Just kill you with MREs. The cheese tortellini. Save me a cheese tortellini. That was a really good one, and I really liked the spaghetti. The spaghetti MRE cold is better than, wow, many of them. Anyway, excuse me. We were there for 3.5 to 4 hours. Now, mind you, we're standing on the tarmac at this old naval air station. At this section, currently it's actually an operational airport, but they've sectioned off the very, very back corner of this where the old hangars are, and they're still there, left over, and they have a commemorative Air Force, they call themselves. And they have these beautifully restored aircrafts. And we just got caught up in all of the fun and excitement of watching these planes and the stunt planes. And we had some great conversations with some Vietnam veterans. That hilarious, because one of them was a conservative, the other one was a little left-leaning, not too far off the center. Neither one of them was too far off the center, but great guys. They obviously have been friends for quite a while. They're both part of a local one of the local VFWs, so they spend quite a bit of time together, and you can tell because, wow, they really play off of each other. We basically had to laugh and say, okay guys, you guys are on your own. We're out. But I'm gonna link up with them probably later this year and talk about some things. I've got some ideas that I'd really like to bounce off of them. One of them kind of goes hand in hand with another group another group we got to talk to, which is called patriotfeatures.org. If you probably have never heard of them. I didn't until we were at the air show. It's patriotfeatures.org, and what they do is they sit down and they interview World War II veterans, and they interview them and say, give me your story. And it's just a father and son team, and the father basically does all of this. The father sits there, he schedules all of these interviews, he films them, he edits it, and what they were rolling on a TV in their little booth was incredible. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to link up with them, because one of the ideas I've always had and always wanted to do is to have the veterans of Vietnam and even our current vets from Iraq and Afghanistan. I want to sit them down and I want to hear their stories, and I want them to tell their stories, not because I want to make anything off of it. That's not anything at all. Any money that ever would be made from this hopeful project, 100% of it would be donated to a veteran cause. I want their stories documented, because, and this is the same thing that Patriot Features, this is the same idea, and that Patriot Features is doing, and that's why they're focusing on World War II veterans, because World War II veterans are getting older, and a lot of them are dying off, and it's unfortunate that they are. But their stories need to be documented for other people to know what happened. It's history. These are real stories. These are real events that happened. And I think the more personal you can make this, and try and link up with some local schools, or even take it on a national campaign where you're able to go into schools and let them study this as part of their curriculum, they will learn way more. And I would love to be able to help in some way with Patriot Features, and even being able to tell Vietnam veterans stories and put them into these little micro documentaries. And maybe it just goes as far as their family, but it needs to be documented. And like I said, any money that would ever be made on it, I wouldn't pocket 1 cent. It would all be for the veterans, and all of the proceeds would be donated to veterans causes and veteran organizations. No funding would ever be withheld. This operation right here is nothing like Donald Trump's little incident that he did where anyway, we're not talking about Trump tonight. Oh, man, I could talk for days about stuff like that. And you know, if you are interested in some of the ideas that I've got, I would love for you to contact me if you want to be a part of something like that. I would love to hear from you, whether you think it would be a good idea or if you don't. Oh, I just noticed. I'm sorry, Army John. I didn't realize that the YouTube chat was actually working. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll hit you up later with if you need to tape me or not. No, actually, I'm within regulation. I could pass a PT test with flying colors. But, oh man, I could talk about our veterans for hours and days. I really could. Absolutely love them. As you can tell, you know, I spent time in the military, and it's a cause that is extremely, extremely close to me. Okay, I think that really catches us up, right? Yeah, I think it catches us up. Okay, so again, we're not covering. You gotta take me to the Patton Tank Museum in Palm Springs, California, where Patton trained his troops before invading Africa. Yes, if I can take a week of vacation one of these days, I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. We'll have to put that on our bucket list, to link up in Palm Springs, Army John. Oh, that would be fantastic. Oh, okay. Let's get back on topic, because we've still got a couple of things that we need to cover. Okay, awesome. We'll have to link up afterwards, John, and we'll have to figure out some sort of logistics of when. It probably won't happen for another year or so, because next year the wife and I are going to take a short little vacation to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary. Yeah, I know, it's kind of a big deal. It is for us. Oh, it's big this day and age, isn't it? It's almost unheard of to hear somebody say that they've been married for 20 years, let alone be married to me for 20 years. I don't know how she does it. She's got to be some sort of saint or angel or something. Oh, anyway, thank you, John. I appreciate that. He said in the chat room that this is by far better than the lame debate on whatever on the circus. Okay, so let's get into some real topics. We're not talking about the debate. And yes, my wife is awesome. If you haven't noticed from the vlogs, she is incredible. And I think that we are the perfect match, and we complement each other in more ways than any of us would ever be able to put into words. She is such a blessing to me and so many other people. Anyway, I could talk about you for days. I love you. See, she's awesome. She sits here with me every time we do a show. She's sitting there. She's my biggest support. Anyway, so God, we are never going to get this stuff covered if we don't just do it. Okay, here it goes. Government funding at its worst, right? We all know the government's clueless when it comes to putting a budget together. However, Congress still has to find a way to stay funded and open, right? Leave it to the conservatives to resort to Plan B in order to avoid a government shutdown. No, I've got a good trap on my mouth for foul language, John. She doesn't have to police it. She's not here to monitor that. Besides, I can mute my words anytime I want. It's bullshit, okay? I can mute them whenever I want. So anyway, let's continue. Potty mouth. What is up with the potty mouth? John, you were a bad influence. So, what's up with this Plan B to avoid a government shutdown. To avoid a government shutdown. And this story actually came out today, I think, from the Daily Signal, and they talked about this being a spending safety valve. In other words, another continuing resolution that fixes absolutely nothing. Nothing. Because, after all, we can't pin all of this on the president if they can't agree on something, right? So, Representative Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, and Representative Mark Meadows, Republican from North Carolina, founding member of the caucus, say that they will introduce an amendment to that short-term spending bill. This amendment would trigger an automatic 40-day extension of government funding in Congress if Congress fails to pass a long-term spending bill in December, during a lame duck session between the November 8th election and the beginning of the new Congress in January. Let's see. Meadows says, quote, "I'm trying to give as much flexibility as possible to our leadership and appropriators, while at the same time realizing that a potential government shutdown should not be the focus of any conversation." And then he continues by saying, "This 40-day extension amendment would allow us to negotiate in good faith." Whatever the hell that means. Here's what I think. I think it means something totally different in Washington. But have no fear. The government is here to spend $839,291 for kids to play virtual reality games so poor kids can experience alternate realities. That's right. This one comes by way of the Washington Free Beacon, where they are reporting that a 4-year study was awarded to Research, Evaluation, and Social Solutions, Inc., to create an after-school program for kids to play quote-unquote me games that use virtual reality. They say, let's see. Oh, this comes from their grant proposal. And it says, quote, "Adolescence is a crucial period of transition between childhood and legal adulthood, with individuals following more uncertain and complex paths based on gender, race, ethnicity." Okay, yeah, they really said that. "Social class and geography." And then they continued by saying, "Possible identities reflect how individuals think about their potential and their future. Adolescents living in under-resourced environments," they're poor, they're lower class, but we'll call them under-resourced. Because the bigger the word, the more it comes across as unfair. So adolescents living in under-resourced environments rarely have the opportunities or means to reflect on and consider their future goals, dreams, threats, fears, and assets. Hence, an intervention focusing on these elements is necessary. So, Free Beacon reports that the funding will go towards completing 4 quote-unquote me games for kids to play after school. Listen to the names of these games. I mean, they're going to have people knocking the doors down in order to play these games. One of them is called My World of Dreams. Another one, The Valley of Others. This one is probably the one I would sign up for. Disappointment's Bridge. And last but not least, The Sea of Hope. Now, if that doesn't make you want to bust the doors down to an after-school program to go play these quote-unquote me games so you can have some alternate reality to figure out how other people are living, I don't know what it's going to take for you to understand these under-resourced environments and the lack of opportunities, okay? So, here's what they say. Quote, "The goal of Me Games is to support early adolescents' successful transition to adulthood by increasing their academic engagement, motivation, and performance through digital learning activities that make the future feel close and connected to the present, promote a productive interpretation of experienced difficulties, and create a link between possible selves and current action. Using a virtual world with different edu-games not only creates a feasible and scalable alternative to a totally face-to-face intervention, it also offers an appealing space in its own right, especially for early adolescents aged 11 to 14. Now, so far, this little project has cost you, the taxpayer, $839,291 so far. Oh, I'm so glad that the government is coming up with these incredible after-school gaming specials. The last thing we would really want to do is, teach our kids to masturbate. Yes, that comes... listen, this is how crooked and ignorant people are in Hollywood. Now, we could have actually saved this for Who Said That, but there's, believe it or not, something I thought was way more funnier that we can cover for Who Said That. So, yes, her name is Shailene Woodley. Apparently, she's one of the stars in the new movie coming out, or that is out. I don't keep up with movies that are being released. It's called Snowden. Obviously, it's about Snowden. And she wondered in an interview to what extent teen pregnancy numbers would diminish if masturbation were taught in school. Now, if you've got kids in the room, please, by all means, earmuffs. This is what she said in the interview with the digital magazine The Edit. Quote, "As a young woman, you don't learn how to pleasure yourself. You don't learn what an orgasm should be. You don't learn that you should have feelings of satisfaction." Okay. Apparently, she also has always dreamed about writing a book that's called There's No Right Way to Masturbate. Okay, great. Whatever. Now, Woodley was also a star in a TV show about teen pregnancy called The Secret Life of an American Teenager. She continued, and this is how stupid liberal Hollywood people are. They absolutely were born lacking common sense. If masturbation were taught in school, I wonder how many fewer people would get herpes aged 16 or pregnant at 14. I also have to let you know that she was a supporter of the former presidential candidate, Senator Bernie Sanders, and also thinks that it's difficult for her to discuss politics in Hollywood because most people there are so privileged. Yeah, whatever. Whatever. Okay, so let me get this straight. You want, in our schools, you want your daughters and sons, you think it is completely okay to talk to a 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old young person about masturbation instead of abstinence. Because we know that abstinence is the best way to avoid getting at least herpes, and avoid getting pregnant, you can't get pregnant from abstaining from sex. Okay? I don't care who you are, you can't get pregnant from it. Let me go back to what she had originally said. As a young woman, you don't learn how to pleasure yourself. You don't learn what an orgasm should be. You don't learn that you should have feelings of satisfaction. At what point at the age of 14 to 16 do you completely blow out the idea of self-love and masturbation as the final straw? Like, oh my God, I gotta go home from this date and I've got to pleasure myself and have feelings of satisfaction. At what point are you going to say, that's not enough, I need something more? It's kind of like cigarettes. It's a gateway. Okay, so a cigarette isn't enough. You go out and you smoke marijuana. Marijuana becomes not enough, and then you say, screw it. Let's just shoot up some heroin. Let's pop some pills. Let's just forget all about it, man, because this is the age of peace, love, and war, man. I mean, you can't have peace without war, because you gotta understand that war brings peace, man. And you gotta love everybody. You can't love everybody if you're so stressed out without drugs or alcohol, man. Yeah. Anyway. You know what? We're running out of time. We're running out of time. Let's cover profiles in history, and if we run out of time, because I think we've only got about 7 minutes for the rest of the show, and then so if you stick around after the show and you're watching on the YouTubes, if we don't get to it, we will cover our Who Said That after the show on the YouTubes. So let's cover profiles in history. He later recalled as the Declaration of Independence was being signed, quote, "I was determined to see how they all looked as they signed what might be their death warrant. I placed myself beside the Secretary, Charles Thomson, and eyed each closely as he affixed his name to the document. Undaunted resolution was displayed in every countenance." William Ellery was born on December 22nd, 1727, in Newport, Rhode Island. His father, William Ellery Sr., was a Harvard graduate who educated his children at home. At the age of 15, Ellery began attending Harvard, where he would graduate at the age of 20. And upon graduating, he would return to Newport, where he first worked as a merchant and next as a customs collector. And it wasn't until he would work as a clerk for the Rhode Island General Assembly that he would find his stride. In 1750, he married Anne Remington. However, in 1764, she would pass away. He married 3 years later to a woman by the name of Abigail Carey, who would pass on in 1793. Combined, Ellery would have 19 children in total. At the age of 43 in 1770, he started practicing law, also becoming active in the Rhode Island chapter of the Sons of Liberty. On May 14, 1776, William Ellery was selected to fill a vacancy in the Continental Congress, brought about by the death of Samuel Ward. He would continue to serve in this capacity until 1785. On August 2nd, 1776, he stood next to Secretary Charles Thomson as the other delegates signed what he considered to be a death warrant before signing his own name. Now, in terms of size, Ellery's signature was second to that of John Hancock. Later, he would also be one of the signers of the Articles of Confederation. Now, during the war, the British invaded Rhode Island, even occupying Ellery's town of Newport for almost 3 years. While there, they burned his home and destroyed other property he owned. After the war, at nearly 60 years old, he would be forced to start over. Upon retiring Congress in 1785, he found himself becoming an abolitionist, as he was a strong, vocal advocate for the abolition of slavery, even supporting Rufus King's legislation to forbid slavery in any states to be formed in the Northwest Territory, which would later become Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. His retirement in 1785 from Congress would allow him to stay closer to home, where George Washington appointed him collector of customs for the city of Newport, a job he did for the next 3 decades. Also, during this time, William served as a judge of the Supreme Court of Rhode Island. Being visited by the doctor, he had a little trouble reading Ellery's pulse. It soon strengthened, and in typical Ellery humor, he replied, "Oh yes, doctor, I have a charming pulse." The mood, however, turned serious when he said, quote, "But it is idle to talk to me in this way. I'm going off the stage of life, and it is a great blessing that I go free from sickness, pain, and sorrow." Later that day, on February 15th, 1820, he was found sitting upright in bed, clutching a book of Cicero, as if he had just fallen asleep. He was 92 years old, and was the second oldest of all of the signers, having been outlived by only Charles Carroll of Carrollton. And that is our profiles in history. Okay. How much time do we have? Okay, I think we can fit it in. Because it's getting late and I'm thirsty. My throat's getting dry. So let's do Who Said That? Where is it? Here it is. That's right. It is time for Who Said That? Now, if you're unfamiliar with Who Said That, it is the final segment of the show. Final segment of the show where it doesn't matter whether you're a conservative, liberal, Republican, conservative, it doesn't matter. Whatever you are, if you say something completely stupid, we're probably just going to make fun of you and laugh at your expense. Okay. This guy said this, quote, okay. Oh my God. See, I'm going straight to hell, and that's why my wife sits next to me. Okay. He said, quote, "One day we might receive a signal from a planet like this." This is him talking in a documentary, a documentary, referring to a potentially habitable alien world known as Gliese 832c. And he continues by saying, "But we should be wary of answering back. Meeting an advanced civilization could be like Native Americans encountering Columbus. That didn't turn out so well. Well, it turns out Mr. Stephen Hawking is a little afraid of aliens. No, it's not L. Ron Hubbard. Stephen Hawking. Okay, arguably, probably some in the scientific world think he is arguably one of the smartest thinkers out there. And the guy is afraid of aliens. He is just dead set and completely against admitting that maybe, just maybe, God had a hand in all of this. I mean, the guy is strapped to a damn wheelchair and continues on living because of God's will. God's got a special purpose for Mr. Hawking. For Professor Hawking, he has a grand mission. I don't know what it is, and I don't even think Stephen Hawking does, but I've got a feeling one of these days he is going to come to terms with himself and finally admit that God had a hand in all of it. Call me crazy, but that's what I think. Oh, I mean, you guys are afraid of aliens. One of the most arguably brilliant thinkers of our time. We've talked about him before. Anyway, arguably one of the best thinkers of our time, and the guy is batcrap crazy afraid of aliens. Hey, silly, do you think if aliens were out there and they knew about us, they obviously had the intelligence to know what we were doing, saying, and the whole 9 yards? I think Johnny number 5 isn't completely plugged in. Okay? Oh my goodness. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this week. And God willing, the Stafford Voice will be back next week. You can follow me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice, or you can look me up on the Facebooks by searching for the Stafford Voice, or the Instagrams, or the Snapchats. You can even email your questions, comments, or concerns to the Stafford Voice at gmail.com. And look, I want to thank you so much for your time. I honestly love you for it. I'm so blessed and so grateful that you were willing to take time out to listen to this show or watch it on the YouTubes. I really do thank you from the bottom of my heart. And until next week, thanks and God bless.